Hi, and thanks for joining me today. So, I just finished yet another mini album. This one's going to my mother-in-law, and I used the Carta Flower Market paper pad, and I actually got the ephemera pack for this line as a freebie with my scrapbook.com order just a while ago, and love the design, love the colors, and it made me think of my mother-in-law. And so when I had the idea to make mini albums as gifts this year, I thought that I would pick up the paper pad to go along with that ephemera pack and make her mini album out of this paper, which I absolutely love. And so here is that mini album. So if you want to stick around until after I do the flip through, I'll show you all of the different dyes and everything that I used to make it. So let me just show you how it all turned out. Um, this is a little bit of diamond glaze on the truck. Give it that little glossy shine, and then some handmade paper flowers. So this is a cut apart from one of the pattern papers, and just love the sentiment. And this was this and these two pieces down here were from the ephemera pack. And I did fussy cut the truck, even though this particular cut apart, it does have a truck on it. I just wanted a little bit more dimension, and so that one's popped up on some foam. There you go, you can see the black foam behind there. And I put some glossy, not glossy accents, sorry, diamond glaze on it to give it that shine. And then flipping into the book. So I did find it a little challenging to work with this paper pad only because it only comes with 12 sheets and there are 12 unique designs. It's double-sided, so actually technically there's 24 unique designs. And making an album this size, the page bases are 7 by 7. You really have to, every cut has to be perfect. And so it was a little bit of a challenge, and I didn't plan super great because I forgot about the inside front and back covers. And so I do this often if you've seen any of my other videos where I do this sort of pinwheel paper piecing, and I love it because you can use super small pieces and it really makes the most out of your paper and just stretches it, and it looks fantastic too. It always turns out great, and it's a nice way to also showcase all of the different papers in one spot as well. And so I do like how it turned out. And in this particular paper pad, one side was sort of a pattern, like a repeating pattern, and then the other side was a more illustrated printed pattern. And so for this paper piecing, I used the side that was the more like repeating pattern, so that it would kind of, because these are such thin strips that let me show you as an example. I still have this one little border strip. So the printed patterns were things like this, where it was flowers and the truck that was featured on the front cover, things like that. So I thought that including those in these strips might make it really hard to tell what's what. Then on this first page, this is a shaker. So it's just got some sequins in green and some yellow glass beads. So it makes a really great sound. Love that. And this does pull out, so if she'd like, she can kind of change the background and have that background if she'd like. She can flip this around. It's just the same ivory cardstock as the page base, and so she can have that background. And as well, I gave her a second tag that's this exact same size, and I just drew out for her where to place a photo if she would like to instead swap this piece out with another tag that has a photo, and that way she can put a photo behind this window too. So a lot of different options for her there. And then the next page, this was actually the first page that I created. I was going for the flower stand look, this being the flower market. And so I've just got this tag here that's holding my top flap closed. And this is sort of the awning, which I thought worked out really well because you've got the curved edge of the page, and this stripy pattern was perfect. And then I had the perfect die to cut out this scalloped edge here. And so you flip that up, and this has another stripy pattern. And then this pocket is pretty deep. It can hold quite a bit. So I've got a little envelope with all the extra ephemera that I didn't use. So I'm just going to give that to her because maybe she'd like to, once she has her photos in here, she might want to dress up the pages a little bit more. I didn't want to over decorate because that gives her more freedom for where she might like to place photos. And I've got this tag that I just die cut out of one of those cut aparts. It says, "You make me happy." Then I have another tag, and this was one of the die cuts. It says, "So many reasons why I love this." And I figured she could do a little journaling to, caption and then put a photo on the back if she'd like. And then this was that extra tag. So it's just the cardstock, the ivory cardstock that I use for my page bases, but then I have it drawn out in pencil. It's hard to see on camera, but it's got the outline of where she should place her photo, and then that way she can slip a photo behind this window if she'd like. So that's an option for her. And then next page, if you've seen some of my other mini albums, especially the Graphic 45 one, you'll kind of recognize this layout. So it's a Z-fold. I really love this pattern paper with the truck, and so this is a 12 by 12 paper, and I wanted to feature this as a 2-page spread like this, but being that my pages are 7 inches square and the pattern paper is only 12 inches, I did have to border it with this black stripy pattern. So all I did there was I actually cut out a strip, and then I taped it along this edge, and then I ran that through the my die cutting machine so that I could get the scalloped edge all in one piece. And then where the join is, I put just a strip of Love from Lizzie's pinstripe peel off stickers. Kind of hard to tell because it's black, but it's a black glitter, so there's a little bit of a sparkle to it, and it just helps finish, give that edge a little bit of a finish. And then on this flap, this is a die cut element that came in the ephemera pack, and I am similar to what I did for my mom's mini album. I made photo mats with photo corners already in all 4 corners, and then some double-sided adhesive on the back so she can just kind of slip her photos in and then peel and stick. And the 4x4s fit really great on this size page because you still have a really nice generous border where you can sort of see and still appreciate the designer paper. And then the ephemera die cut piece here is open at the top, so she can still slip her photo behind there and get like a really nice sort of decorative edge there. So I've given her 4x4 mats and also 4x6 mats because that will fit on the main page, which is 7x7, so she can actually do both. This would be perfect for a portrait style because it's already bordered by this black strip, and so you get a really nice frame with behind just the truck pattern paper. And with this die cut element, I actually stamped the word happy on there using some Distress Oxide ink that I thought would match with those the berries or those flowers, and I think it matched really well, so that worked out pretty well. And then similarly on this side, this is also another die cut from the ephemera pack, and then I just stamped favorite moment on here, which I thought the stamp set that I have just works really well, this particular one, for mini albums, because it's got the perfect little captions for it. And so this defold, so this folds all the way out, opens up this way, and there was another sheet where it just had these little squares, and I'm not sure if these were meant to be cut aparts, but I thought it would make, a nice sort of quilted pattern. And so this is a 6x6 page base, and so I was able to get 2, so that worked out really well. So because there's one there, and then there's one on this side too, but it's all, each tile is different, so so I love it for that. And then some of them have little sayings and words on them, which I think are great, and then some have a little bit more open space, so just gives your eye, room to kind of wander around and enjoy. So I really love that. And on this page, this was just a little fussy cut from one of the pattern papers. And this spread here, this page is pretty simple. All it has is this die cut element, so that can get tucked there. And I did have to do paper piecing because there wasn't a large enough piece, but I did the exact same thing where I just taped the 2 pieces of paper together on the back with double-sided adhesive tape, and then I ran it through, because that's how you can get, the scallop edge to be perfect. And it looks really almost seamless. So I didn't even have to put the Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers, as I often do. So that worked out really well. And then on this side, these flip out. And then there's just that little die cut that says Making Memories Together. And again, that was open and empty in the original die cut element, but I just stamped Making Memories Together on there because I just thought that was perfect. And love the font on the Together also. So that was really nice. And then this is the last page. Again, another die cut. And I tried to kind of bring some of the wood from this side over here. And then this is one of the ephemera pieces that I just backed on some of the design paper. And again, that's open as well, so she can put a photo behind there. And then this is a pull-out, so it's kind of like a Russian doll, nested pages that slips in and out. And how this came about was I had this really pretty paper, and I only had this much of it left, but I had the full 12-inch length, but it worked out perfect to be able to fit on as a matted layer for the 6x6 flip out. But it had this really nice quote here, and I had already assembled the rest of the pages, and so there wasn't a place to kind of do one of those kind of 2-page spreads that I often do. And I had just about resigned myself to just covering up the quote with something else possibly, or just leaving it as is and sacrificing the full quote. But then I thought that it occurred to me that the die set does cut page bases in, these nested sizes, and so it works out perfectly that there's enough room to nest these all within each other, and it just collapses very easily in within each other. I mean, I did have to use foam, so the first one there's like a double layer of foam, and then on this one there's a single layer of foam, and so that's how everything kind of slips in and out so easily. If I had to do this spread over again, which I probably will at some point because I really actually like how it turned out, I would put a magnet here I was so fixated on figuring out the mechanics for this, and the spacing and everything so that it would all fit within the book, that I forgot to put down a magnet. And the reason why the magnet would have been better is that when you flip this last page over, if it was magnetized, then it would flip over like this, and this is the first thing you would see. And so then you would pull that out, and it would be great. However, without the magnet, when you flip this page over, this is the first thing that you see, which is fine, except for the fact that you're going to see this here, you're going to see the ribbon, you're going to pull it out, and then it's going to be all blank, and that's going to seem like a letdown. Until you flip it over, and then you're like, oh, what's this on this side? And then it'll seem pretty neat. I intentionally wanted to leave this blank, though, because she could actually mount photos here, and so I wanted to leave the space for that. So for example, here's a 4x6 that she could put back there. And I didn't want to put a layer of decorative paper, knowing that I wanted her to use this space for photos as well, or at least have the option to. She doesn't have to, but I was worried that if I put too many layers here and then she were to add a photo on top of that, then this wouldn't slide in and out as easily because then it would get too thick. So I left it blank for that reason, but without the magnet closure to kind of hold this to the page so that when you do the initial flip, this is the first thing that you see. It's a small thing, but again, if I had it, I'm not super mad at it, but if I had to do it over again, I would put a magnet there so that your first experience when you turn this page over is the decorative portion, and then you get this slide out. And so you might ask, well, why didn't I put all this pretty stuff on this side? Well, I didn't plan to do this nested Russian doll page initially, and so I'd already cut this decorative paper out to be facing that way because it does have a curved edge and it's directional, so you can't just, if you've cut it so that it needs to be on a left page, then that's where it has to go. And so I was sort of locked into it being on this side, and so there were a couple things where, if I had just thought it through a little bit better and planned ahead a little bit, then it would have turned out just, ever so much better. But like I said, I'm not mad at it. I really like how it turned out, and I like it. So it's just things that I can improve on next time. So this is the inside back cover. So like I said, I had to do the paper piecing because I was out of paper at this point, or at least out of a large enough section to cut, a big piece. But it turned out really well, and I love doing this paper piecing pattern, sort of the pinwheel quilted pattern. So that turned out really well. And then this was another of those cut aparts that was on one of the pattern papers, and then this was just fussy cut from one of the pages as well. And then on the back, find the beauty in every day. That again is part of that stamp set that I use throughout the book. And this is a die cut from the ephemera pack, and again a couple of fussy cut watering cans. So that's the album. Now, if you're curious to see what all I used to create it, let me just start pulling things out. So the main actually, before I do that, let me also show you all the little extras that I plan to include. So I did make for her these extra little gift tags. So she's got them in 3 sizes. That's one size, and then she's got this size, technically 4 sizes because I've got these two. Or it can be tags, and then either little extra ephemeras or things that she can use to decorate up the page. This you already saw, so this was the pack of extra die cut ephemera pieces that I did not use. And then I just cut these little sentiments out. They came in one of my die sets that I'll show you in a little bit, but my thought behind this was that there's like a little strip of double-sided adhesive, and I figure she can kind of peel and stick these onto the little gift tag, and then she can write, you know, her message to, from, and, you know, a little note to whomever she's giving this to. So I thought that either, you know, she could put it on that side, or she could put it on the back and maybe write her message and then just add one of these to the back, or two, or however many she'd like. So I thought that might be cute to include with the little set of gift tags. I really did want to use up all of the paper because it's so pretty, and what I had left over would not have been enough for another album. It might have been enough to maybe make a greeting card, but I figured I'd rather just make as many elements as I could so that I can give it to her, and then she'll have like a more complete set of things. So here's the main die set that I use. It's the Tonic Studios Life's Journey Keepsake Base Creator die set and the accompanying Flora Memoria layering die set. So I used both of these, and they do come in like multiple. This will cut your page bases and that scalloped edge mat and layer for the pages, and then this just gives you even more decorative, that lacy pattern. So I use that on that shaker window, and then I used the smaller one and did some die cut inlaying on that 4-panel page, this one right here. So that was from this set, and then I just did some die cut inlays on this piece here. So really pretty, pretty design, pretty pattern. Okay, then on the cover, I did use a couple of different flower dies, but one of them is just an old one that I don't even know where I got that one from, but this particular rose here is from the Sizzix Big Die. It's called 3D Flower, but that's the product number. And it does have 2 blades that will cut 2 sizes, and I think this is the larger of the 2. So that's the size that you would get. Sorry, just bumped into my mic. So this is the larger of the 2 that you get in here. And I think when it cuts out, it's maybe 3 inches, and then by the time you roll it up, it ends up being 1.5 inches. But all of that really depends on how tightly you roll. And then these are a different method of 3D flowers where you just cut multiple die cuts of the same shape, and it happens to be that I think for this one I had like sort of a nested flower, so same shape but in 2 or maybe 3 different sizes. And so you just kind of, I use one of the ball styluses to shape these flowers and then actually adhere them after they've been rolled a little bit so that there's a little bit more dimension. And let's see, what's next? So let's go through these so that I can then clear these out. So these tags here, these small ones, are actually from Graphic 45 large tag and ATC tag. So this comes with both sizes and lots of little decorative die cuts. I mean, these dies are awesome. So you get these for flowers, and there's actually, I think, 6 dies to cut different flowers, and this one I haven't even tried yet. It's got a lot of detail there. And then you get some leaves and some sprigs with leaves, so really awesome. If I had thought about it, I would have maybe used these as well on the front cover, but I actually used these flower dies to make these 3D flowers, and they, again, really simply shaped, and then glued together. And these have just fewer layers, just 2-3 layers on them. But these small ATC tags, so I didn't actually have the tag itself, and so all I did was I die cut the what should be the decorative layer of the tag twice, once in ivory and once from pattern paper, and then I just glued those 2 pieces together, so you get like a little stiffer, but it's not quite as nice as the real thing. So this is an actual Graphic 45 square tag. It's got the nice metal grommet, and then the die cuts out this perfect layer to mat over it, and you get this nice little black border. I don't have any of the ATC size tags, and so I just did this, and it still turns out really cute. So, you know, if you have the die set but you don't have the tags, you can still make your own tags. It just looks different, but it's nice. I mean, I don't have any grommets this big, so that hole might be a little fragile, but especially since this portion up here is so thin. But I figure, you know, it doesn't need to last forever. It just needs to last for as long as, you know, you give your gift to somebody and they see it. So I think it'll work out okay. So that's using this. And then speaking of tags, this is the square tag. So what I really love about the Graphic 45 die sets is that you get the die that will cut the decorative layer for their tags, but then they also give you these additional dies as decorative elements. So in the large tag and ATC tag, you get flowers. In the square, you get this really intricate clock, and this was the clock that I used in my Lady's Diary mini album that went to my mom. And then this is what it looks like when you mat their proper tag. And then they have the regular size tag, but I don't have that die set, and the decorative dies that come in that is gears. So that might be one that I pick up at some point, but don't happen to have it just yet. For this size tag, I used another die set, and that came from this one here. This is a Sizzix die set, and here's the product number. And it's really great because it's got this slot die that you can actually cut a little slot out of it, and then if you actually wanted to do what I did here, where I cut 2 layers, just an ivory layer and decorative layer, on one of your layers, on your top layer, you could cut the slot out and then slip a gift card into that slot. So that's actually how it's designed to be used, but I just didn't cut the slot. And then for those little sentiments, that came in this stamp set here. So with love, you are special, just for you. And it's perfect because all of these stamps come with the dies that will cut them out. So makes it really easy to cut out these little pieces, and then she can just add the little sentiment as a finishing touch before she uses it as a tag, gift tag. Then for this size tag, I should note that that die set does not come with a die for the whole reinforcer. So as it happened to work out, I have these little grommets from my sewing stash, and so it was the perfect size. So a perfect snug fit, fits into the hole, and really easy to just add these little metal grommets to these tags. So that worked out really well. I don't have grommets this size, so I could not put a metal ring on that, but that's okay. And then with these smaller tags, I use this Sizzix die set, and you've probably seen me use this one before in some of my other albums, but that's the product number. And this die set does come with the whole reinforcer. So I did cut from pattern paper, one die cut, and then from ivory the back piece, and then I cut 2 whole reinforcers out of the pattern paper to put on both sides. And then with these, I just put some of the cute little stickers that come in the paper pad. So there's like a 12x12 sheet of stickers, and the stickers are pretty they're pretty nice. They're actually sort of almost like cardstock thickness. They aren't flimsy paper stickers. They're actually pretty nice, and so I just used a few of them here and there to decorate some of these tags and just give them a little extra something special. So those are in there, and I hardly used the sticker sheet at all because a lot of them were rather large, and scale wise they just didn't fit the pages very well. But these little ones I thought would be pretty cute for the tags. So that's the little gift tags. And what else did I use? Oh, so for this photo mat, I used this die set, another Sizzix, and the product number is there. And this one's Hello Life. I just used this really large sort of, it almost looks like a file folder tab because it's got the tab there. So that's for the photo mat. And oh, for these like little baggies here, I actually used this die set, which you've seen me use before if you saw any of my other walkthrough videos. So there's the product number on that one, and these are great. I actually bought this for the sort of stencil alphabet dies, and I think this particular set is actually retired now, but they did replace it with something almost exactly the same, except that it seems a little bit nicer because it has 46 dies instead of 40, and I think you get the extras are, I think, more punctuation or more symbols, and the gift bag, this one is just one of those kind of thin, maybe like a sleeve, gift card sleeve, but I think in the newer version it's a little bit more dimensional. I don't have it, so I don't know for sure, but I've seen photos of it on the Sizzix website. So you can't get this exact one on Sizzix.com anymore, but they do have a sort of an upgraded version of this. So you can probably still find this maybe on like scrapbook.com or possibly eBay. I'm not sure. But I love this. It's a great scale and size. And until this project, I hadn't even used the envelope sleeves, so kind of nice to eventually use those. the last die that I used is this one. It's actually one of the drop-in die sets from Stephanie Bernard for Sizzix, and this is the one that gave me that nice scalloped edge with the little dots, and I'll show you where I used that. That was for my flower market awning, and it worked out perfectly because this die cut ephemera piece actually has these little poles and the same, well, not the same, but a similar sort of scalloped edge, and so it just worked out really well that I could kind of use this on this page and bring this pattern kind of over onto this layout. But I did have to do some partial die cutting on that one because it's not exactly, I'll show you the die. So it's meant to actually cut out like a full matted layer for your card. So this entire thing does have a cutting edge all around, and so you can see this is shorter than my page base here, and of course I didn't want to cut any of this edge either, so I was basically the inside edge does not cut though, it's just the outside edge, so I basically just cut from edge to edge, and then I had to line it up just shy of this edge. I basically just cut to about here so that I didn't risk cutting any of this scallop along this edge. So I lined it up, rolled it to about here-ish, and then moved this down and lined it up with the previous scallops, and then cut from about here over. So it was a little tricky to do, but really worth it because the awnings always have that sort of scalloped edge, and then it worked out perfectly that I didn't plan it in advance, but I noticed this had the same sort of scalloped edge with the circles punched out, and so everything just, I love how just these happy little accidents work out, and that all came together just really perfectly. Well worth the partial die cut to achieve that effect. I didn't get like a perfect cut, so on this last edge I did have to these three last circles, I did have to punch that last one of these circles, two of these circles out, and then this was partially cut. I don't know if you can see that. The die did partially cut it, and I thought about punching it out because I have a hole puncher that has different sizes, and I found a size that works almost perfectly, but I didn't actually want to punch this out because it was right on the edge, and I wanted to leave the edge solid and strong, so I just left it there, and you can kind of see that the die does emboss an edge, which is not super perfect because of the partial die cutting that I was doing, but I'm okay with that little bit of imperfection. I think at the end of the day, the overall effect turned out really well, and so I'm kind of happy with how that all worked out in the end. So that's how all of that goes together, and I think that's pretty much. Oh, let me show you the stamp set. So I was describing how there are these little sentiments that I stamped onto some of the ephemera, like favorite moment and making memories together. That came from this stamp set. So this is a Heidi Swap stamp set, and it's probably easier to see this. So it's got these really great sentiments and phrases for memory books and mini albums. So highlights, recorded, favorite moment, never leaving, go where you feel most alive, quote of the day. I really want to use quote of the day in the big quotes, but I couldn't find a place to fit that in. And then this one says, that view though. Like, oh, that view though, you know? So I love that. If you were making like a mini album to put some photos from a recent trip that you took and you know, you took a photo of a gorgeous view, that would be perfect for that. Chill, happy. I used the happy, making memories together. I used that. Loving right now. I love the hashtag and the little like and the exclamation point. So a lot of fun little stamps in this set, and I thought it was just perfect for album making, and so that's why I picked it up, and it worked out really great that I could stamp on those die cut ephemera pieces and really just, you know, give like a different life to, like, that was one of them. That's where I stamped the making memories together. So, because I often see these ephemera pieces with this open frame, and I guess you could write your own little caption, but it felt perfect to just stamp something in there and then have that be a nice little decorative piece. So I think that pretty much covers everything that I used to make this album. So thanks again for joining me, and there are some other things that I use, like I did use a heavyweight chipboard, and I was really happy to figure out how to wrap, do a rounded corner essentially with heavyweight chipboard and wrap it nicely. So I didn't record a tutorial on that, but if there's any interest in seeing that, I'm pretty sure that I'll make another album using this Tonic Studios die set again, and I'll be definitely making the sturdier chipboard, because I really like using heavyweight chipboard for my cover pieces, and I also really like making my covers slightly larger than my album pages. And there was no way the die, because it's just a thin metal die, there was no way the die was going to cut through heavyweight chipboard, for one. And then second, I had already used the largest die in the set for my page base, and so I didn't even have a die that was the size I wanted my cover to be. So I basically hand cut the cover and traced the same rounded edge onto my chipboard, and then just kind of cut that, sanded it smooth, and then figured out how to kind of wrap it nicely so that there's not, you get a nice smooth wrap, but then there's not a lot of bulk on the underside where all of those pieces get wrapped around. And so it turned out really well, I think, and I'm glad that it did, because that was my only sort of concern with making a album with pages that have such heavy elements, because this was the first album where I really did go all out with a lot of dimensional stuff. Like, usually I don't have a lot of dimensional elements on my pages, but here I used foam, I think double thickness foam, so that I could have these move around freely, and I used foam for this pocket too, because it's got the rounded edge, and you can't really do like a typical kind of fold under for your pockets, and so, but foam though, you know, you can shape the foam around that corner, so I used foam there, and then I also used foam on this sort of Russian doll nested page. So this is the larger piece is double thickness foam, and then this is single thickness foam. That way everything, you know, slides in and out smoothly, so there's enough kind of thickness there. So there was a lot of sort of thick, heavy elements to this album, and I was a little bit concerned about having covers that would really kind of hold it all in nicely, and that way when you pick up the book it doesn't feel like, you know, it's floppy or anything like that, or that the covers are thinner than the pages themselves. So being able to use that heavyweight chipboard was a huge plus, and so I will definitely be using that technique again. So if there's any interest in seeing that, or seeing how I made any of these other elements, let me know in the comments. And I still have a couple more albums I need to make for June, July birthdays, and then I'll be making a few albums for Christmas as well. So for sure, I'll be using some of these same structures and some of these same techniques. And if there's interest in seeing a more in-depth tutorial on how to do that, then I'll be sure to turn the camera on and walk you through how I achieve some of these looks. So thanks again for joining me, and until my next video, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye!